Sharala, this your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto YAHAWAH, BAHASHIM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHIM, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of great millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you. I can push in this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here lesson, dealing with this here article right here, because we keep seeing and hearing about these things, all right, with Turkey and the Russian S-400 system, all right? But as we getting closer and closer to that time, hey, it's all about watching these here prophecies, all right? So we're going to get into this here article. It says, Ankara rejects media reports of U.S. 2-week ultimatum on S-400 deal. And Ankara has rejected news reports that the U.S. has set an official deadline for Turkey to pull out of the S-400 deal with Russia by the end of the first week of June, according to Turkish TV channel AHBAD, all right? Continuing on, it says, nothing of that kind has occurred at the official level, Turkish Deputy Minister Yavuz Salim Karin said in March. In March, the U.S. renewed its previous proposal on supplies of Patriot missile systems. Actually, we believe that this media report concerns this proposal. All right. And they'll go into it a little bit. Let me just continue on reading. It says, Karan, speaking to Washington on Wednesday, also noted that Ankara opposed the American sanctions under the Countering American Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, all right, which is, pretty much with these, how do I say, the victims of America's bullying, all right, they started to put together these things. They'd be like, yo, matter of fact, let me try to grab that real fast. Because basically what's going on is, America used to be the bully, right? So America is the one that's going around putting sanctions on everybody. This is, also a dead giveaway to who is Babylon the Great, according to the scriptures, and who's ruling the earth is the so-called white man, because, he can put sanctions on everybody else, but nobody can really put sanctions on America, But nevertheless, Salat. Oh, I know what I was going to grab. I know what precept I was grabbing. Isaiah 14 and 9. Salat. Isaiah 14 and 10. It says, all they shall speak unto thee are all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials, the worm is spread under thee, the worms cover thee. All right. So let me read the next verse. Verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, Salakia, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weakest the nations? All right. So let me read verse 16 as well. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake the kingdoms? All right. So again, this is going into what these nations are now stepping up to say. Beforehand, America was the only one that was going around pretty much putting sanctions on everybody, and everybody had to deal with it. But now these other nations is coming together. Like, look, let's just start with the petrodollar. Oh, y'all got the petrodollar? All right, we're going to start with the BRICS nations. You putting sanctions on us? All right, we're going to come up with a bill basically of countering Americans' sanctions acts. Hey, y'all keep putting sanctions on everybody. All right, well, if they put sanctions on them, then what we going to do is we're going to band together and make sure that you don't wind up starving. If they say you can't eat here no more, all right, well, fuck it. Then we'll go in the restaurant. We'll go get the food for you and we'll bring it outside. Fuck them. We don't give a damn about them. You see what I'm saying? So this is pretty much what it's going into. So at the same time, this is like these other nations saying, oh, you putting sanctions on people? Fuck it. We'll put sanctions on your ass too. You want to go do this and do that, we'll do it too, Further going into this S-400 system, oh, what you going to do if we buy the Russian S-400 system? What you going to do about it, So let me go back to this here article. Damn it, man. All right, this is why I didn't like doing this way, but fuck. Salakia. Kind of lose my train of thought going back and forth, back and forth. Salakia, brother, give me a second for this here to load. All right, now let me get back to where I was at. It says, where were we at? It says, Karen speaking to Washington on Wednesday also noted that Ankara opposed the American sanctions under Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. He stressed that the deal with Moscow will buy 4 batteries of the S-400 air defense system and had been signed before the law was passed. As a NATO state, Turkey has been facing mounting pressure from the U.S. and its allies over the S-400 deal. On Wednesday, Germany urged Turkey to cancel its agreement, which could trigger U.S. sanctions, which would run to counter Turkey NATO interests and opt for U.S.-made Patriot systems. This is ultimately what America wants. They want everybody basically to be on their side so they can go up against Russia and China. But nevertheless, and Iran. But nevertheless, according to prophecies, all right, the whore's starting to hate the beast. All of America's allies are all turning on America. And at the end of the day, everybody's going to be against America, all right? It says, on Tuesday, several American media outlets quoted sources in the government saying that Turkey was facing the ultimatum to stop transactions with Russia within 2 weeks. The White House opposed the deal, citing security concerns and arguing that the S-400 is not capable with NATO systems, all right? Because why? NATO uses what? First of all, America is the main supplier of NATO, the main investor or the main contributor to NATO and things like that. All right. So they have a lot of this American-made weaponry and technology like the F-35 over there. All right. So like Germany and France, right? They want to make they're kind of mad at America too because they want to make how they call it, a German Franco made airplane fighter jet. All right. So they can start making money off of it, because right now when Germany or France buy these what do you call them shits? F-35 fighter jets, all right? When they buy those fighter jets, who get the money for that? I believe it's Lockheed Martin that makes that, which is an American company. All right, so just imagine this. America say, oh, we're going to be the head of everything, but y'all all got to buy from me, even my allies, They ain't really getting no discount. This is going to cost the same price for everybody to get it, and it's only making America rich. It's not really benefiting these other countries. All right, now what if these other countries want to do something different than what America's doing, and they don't want to be their friend no more, their ally no more, but yet and still, let's say their whole arsenal is full of American weapons, So this is the quagmire that these people are getting into, which is causing an uprising into the way they're dealing with things. They're getting tired of having to depend on America all the time. All right, and then also being brought down and drugged into their bullshit. All right, so it says, let me get to these scriptures real quick. I want to grab a couple of scriptures and close out. All right, so we're going to start here in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38. Read verse 1 through 10. It says, and the word of Yahawah came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith Yahawah power, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. All right, so going into that, this is talking about Russia, first and foremost, all right? But nevertheless, when the scripture says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, what is it talking about? All right, first and foremost, I'm going to turn thee back to what? Your old state, all right? At World War II, right? You had what they call the Soviet Union, the USSR, the U.S. Soviet states of Russia, all right, which was not the Russia that you know today. It was a lot bigger territory, all right? They had a lot of other countries also in conglomeration with them, all right? So nevertheless, they, after the fall of the Soviet Union, all right, and after, the fall of the Soviet Union and the USSR, right? They wound up splitting into smaller nations, Well, some of the nations wound up breaking off, all right? And at the same time, America was basically still at war with Russia, but this wasn't the type of war that you would think, all right? It's like more or less like an economic war, infrastructure war. They just basically went in there and turned their whole damn shit upside down, all right? So pretty much from Gorbachev all the way up into, back in the, we want to say the 80s, all right, from the 80s all the way up until like 2008, all right, Russia was on a decline, man. Russia was like a third world country pretty much, Their economy had tanked, man. Their military was a piece of shit, all right. The only thing that they really had in their military was what? Nuclear missiles, all right. But nevertheless, their economy was tanked. Their military was tanked. The people and their morality had tanked over there. Everything was just done over there, man. They was all being plagued and, they was fleecing the flock, man. It's like over here, you got all these elites draining all the energy and the life out of these people by making them overwork and underpaying them. The same thing was going on over there in Russia. But what, 2008 came around, and what? I believe it was 2008, Salak, if that's not the year that Vladimir Putin first took office. But it was around the time George Bush was in office, all right? But nevertheless, or 2006, Salak. But nevertheless, going back into that, when Vladimir Putin came into office, that's when Russia started, stopped declining and started flatlining. All right. And then further and further, as, you seen Barack Obama get into office, this is when Russia started taking off. All right, they started increasing in all their things. All right, their economy came up. All right, their infrastructure started coming up. All right, they started trading with other people around the nations and things like that. All right, then their military in the recent years, really since what Donald Trump got, well, a little bit at the end of Barack Obama's term. All right, is when their military started taking off. All right, so you seen Russia basically be destroyed. All right, depleted, but then what? It was raised back up and it was being brought back to the same state that it was in and as the Soviet Union, the USSR. All right, because you got to understand, this is what America was doing, trying to break them down because they were so big, strong, and powerful. But what? They broke them down, but then they, like the analogy, you know, they woke up that sleeping bear. He was only hibernating. All right, so it says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy armies. All right, and all thy army. So again, it's like, hey, it's like a fish, man. You got that fish on that hook, you're gonna reel that fish in. So the Lord is saying, I'm gonna turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And let me grab a precept real quick. This is Proverbs 21:1. It says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he go, he will. All right, so what? The Most High is the one that's controlling the minds of these kings or these presidents, these nation leaders and things like that. All right, it was the Most High that put the mind state on Vladimir Putin to come into office. Ultimately, it was the Most High's plan for what? Russia to go through the Cold War and wind up falling. All right, and then also ultimately being brought back. That's what we was reading in Ezekiel 38. All right, so let's go back. It says, verse 4, Ezekiel 38:4 says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. All right, even a great company with bucklers and shields, and all of them handling swords. All right, so the point here I want to focus in on, it says, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. All right, this is what Russia's being, what Russia was not so long ago, how do I say, most popularly known for was what? They missile defense systems. All right. And it wasn't until like really what this year or the end of last year when Russia really started coming out with way better or superior offensive weapons like what? The nuclear powered cruise missiles. All right. The hypersonic missiles and things like that. They still kind of testing and developing those missiles right now. But before that, their biggest thing was what? These missile defense systems. All right. Like you see down in Venezuela, they had I believe it's a S-300 or older system or something like that. All right. Same that they put, I believe, an S-300 system over there in Syria, which pretty much calmed down that whole ruckus in that area. All right. Now, Turkey's wanting to buy this here S-400 system because why? Hey, man, ultimately, listen, Turkey know that they in the Middle East, right? And the reason America like Turkey over there is because it's a big ass landmass and it's like a good ass strategic location for war. All right. Instead of like, if America know they're going to be fighting war over there, it don't make no sense for you to be having your launch pad over here in America, man, because by the time you fuel up your jets over here in America and fly their ass over to the Middle East, you got to refuel again. But if you're taking off from Turkey, like when they was in Syria, fighting in Syria, most of those planes was leaving from Turkey, man. All right, so they was just flying out there and they was coming right on back, man. They didn't have to refuel, you know. They can constantly keep going out there, hitting you, coming back, going out there, hitting you and coming back. All right. And then as another plus, you can store a lot of your munitions over there. So if there is a war over there, you already got a lot of your arms over there. This is one of the reasons why America has so many different military bases around the world. All right. So all they had to do is actually, you know, they leave equipment behind. So all they had to do is bring the troops over there. All right. So going back into this, it says all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. All right. So going back into all this here armor, this is what you mainly seeing from Russia that they sell into these other nations right now. All right. It's not really offensive weapons that they sell into nations. They're not really selling nukes and things like that. But what they selling is what? These defensive weapons. All right. These missile defense systems. All right. But let me go back to verse 4. It says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. Even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, which is Iran, and we see that going on right now, Ethiopia, Libya, all of them with shields and with shield and helmet. All right, so what? You got a helmet on. You a football player. Why you got a helmet on? It's to protect your head, right? So it's still another sense of body armor or protection or like a shield. All right, so at the end all be all, what? You have these missile defense systems, which is the modern day shield that's going out right now. All right, you have these missile defense systems that's being set up in these different nations that are being tired of America bullying them around and also being threatened to be how do you say, regime change, more or less to say. All right. But it says Gomer and all his bands, the house of Tomorgah and the north quarters, all of his bands and many people with thee. All right. Going into what? Syria and Turkey. All right. It says, be thou prepared, and prepare thyself and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be a guard unto them. So the scripture is saying, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself. First and foremost, like we was reading in Proverbs 21, the Most High's got his hand on these kings' minds, directing them whithersoever he will, all right? Increasing knowledge in certain areas and telling them, hey, look, maybe you should start investing in this or thinking about that, you know? Let's think about missile defense systems, all right? So what? Russia, all right, well, first of all, the Most High put it, you know, he had it set up there. Vladimir Putin was going to get in office, all right? Then from there, he was going to start, start on the increase because their whole economy and their whole infrastructure was on a decline. But he put them on a path for, for bettering themselves, more or less to say, all right? The scripture here say, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself. But nevertheless, they called it like an arms race, but nevertheless, they are upgrading and updating their systems, all right? Preparing for war. All right, but not only for themselves, they're doing it for other nations as well. So right now you have these nations like what, Turkey, Venezuela, Syria. They're not really making no weapons like this, right? They're not making no missile defense systems. But what? Russia's the one making this, and Russia's the one selling it to these other nations. All right, and I believe also it was I'm not sure if they made the plane or if it was China that made the plane, which is like the F-35 counterpart, but it's a way more high-tech plane. But nevertheless, as you see all their weapons and the armaments are starting to increase or be upgraded, all right, updated, getting more sophisticated, all right? This is what's going on according to the prophecy, all right? So it says, all right, let me grab my next precept. We're going to close out. Salat. We got that in Isaiah already. Let me go to Revelation chapter 17. This is Revelation 17 and 16. It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. All right. For the Most High have put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdoms unto the beast, unto the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So what? The whore is Babylon the Great, America, all right? Going into the beast that the whore is riding on is known as basically as NATO and the EU, all right? Nevertheless, Turkey is a part of NATO, but not just Turkey. You see, like I said, Germany and France, all right? They having these same second thoughts on America because of over the F-35. They want to build their own plane. You also have Spain. Right? Spain is also doing the same thing. In fact, they just pulled one of their ships out of the American Armada that was either being sent to the Strait of Hormuz or basically the South China Sea and the Spratly Islands, you know. Nevertheless, you know, these other nations are seeing that America's going around being a bully to everybody else, and they saying, look, we don't want to catch the backlash from all this stuff, man, or you making us go broke with all of this, man. We got to constantly spend money on war. We can't even build our own infrastructure, man. All right, let alone our people out here starving, man. And what is this prophecy? What is the profit for us, man? What are we getting out of this, you know? America's not really, dividing and spoil up with any of these nations. America's just hoarding all these things, all right, and still being the Lord over the whole planet Earth, man. All right, and even putting their own people in subjection, their own allies in subjection. So ultimately, this is going to lead to America's allies to how do you say, disband or turn the other, turn the other way. And this is why you're seeing things like what? Turkey's like, look, fuck y'all with that damn y'all F-35 and all that. Look, we can buy weapons from Russia, man. And this is the new spirit that's out there with these other nations, man. Beforehand, they wouldn't even dare. You know, Americans like, look, you gonna buy from us and us only, man. You better not ever look to go buy no weapons from nobody else. And they would just be like, all right, you got it. But nowadays, they're like, you know what? Russia's selling some shit. You know, they got it for a good deal. It worked better. You know what I'm saying? And what y'all got is too expensive. We want to go buy from them. You know, now America's like, we're gonna put sanctions on y'all. Like, well, so what? What you gonna cut us off from? Everything that you was supplying us with, they gonna supply us with anyway for a way better deal. All right, so ultimately, this is gonna lead to the downfall of Babylon. Let me grab one more precept. Just came to my mind. Jeremiah 50 and 9, I think. Yep. This is Jeremiah 59. It says, for lo, I will raise and to cause to come up against Babylon. All right. The key word here, an assembly of great nations. All right. So what? We was going back to Ezekiel 38 where it says, prepare for thyself and that great company that's with thee. All right. Or that conglomeration that's going to be with Russia. All right. So it says, for lo, I will raise I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. All right. So it says, let me read that again. It says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. The north country being what? Russia. So we was reading that Russia was going to be the guard unto these other nations. They was going to be the head, and everybody else was going to fall in line up under them. All right. So this is the same thing we reading here. It says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. All right, talking about Babylon. This is why, or America. This is why you're seeing all these different nations are starting to, fall out with America. All right, and it says from thence, letting you know that this, when you further read through all this precept upon precept, that America is going to be taken out with thermonuclear missiles. All right, but you can tell by this here precept that these are what they call intercontinental ballistic missiles. All right, I believe there's another precept where they say, from one country even to another country, they both from one country to another. But nevertheless, it says from thence, being in where? Russia, the north country. They're going to wind up shooting their arrows on America, which is on the other side of the globe. All right, it says, from thence she shall be taken. Their arrow shall be as a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Hey, if you looking deeper into that, man, these are perfected missiles, man. Ultimately, we know that the Most High's got his spirit on these missiles, because what? This is one of the Most High swords, all right? One of his weapons is the scripture says this is his weapons of his indignation. Let me see. Might have been in here. But nevertheless, just getting to the point, the Most High definitely has his spirit inside these missiles. But ultimately, what? Like they say, make bright the arrows, all right? Are they going to be like a mighty expert man? None shall return in vain. Why? Ultimately, today, now we will call these things smart missiles, all right? They got heat-seeking missiles. You have, what you call them shits? GPS or guided missiles and things like that, all right? Then you have the Satan II missile that can change its path while in flight. All right, so these missiles, and then you also have the Satan II can deploy multiple dud warheads. All right, so you don't know which warhead is which. All right, and they can also detect when you shooting back at it. All right, and they can also take the countermeasures to prevent that. Also, like these, these nuclear powered cruise missiles that can change direction, fly under radar, come up and go down, fly indefinite. All right, going in to show you that these new weaponries, these new missiles that they making gonna be smart. How they would say in society, so-called smart weapons, all right? But ultimately, this is just showing us that, hey, this is the will of the Most High, man. He got his spirit on these things, man. None of these missiles are gonna miss their mark, man. All right, everything that you see this mounting up is all gonna go down, and it's gonna take place as you would expect it to take place. Nothing is gonna wind up like, well, what happens if this here fail? What happens if some of our missiles don't go off? What happens if you go buy a pack of fireworks and some of the fireworks don't pop off and some of them are duds? It ain't gonna be like that, man. Every single arrow that's gonna be shot off, they're gonna all hit their target. All right, so it says verse 10, and Chaldea shall be a spoil, all that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith Yahawah. All right, but nevertheless, hey, all these different nations are gonna wind up spoiling America, man. They're gonna wind up taking her for booty, man. All right, because why? America wound up plundering the whole earth, and the scripture say, as she has done unto you, double unto her, man. All right, that's ultimately talking about us. But what? These other nations are gonna be getting their licks too. They're gonna be getting their licks before we get ours, man. All right, and World War III, man. This is what it's talking about the beast starting to hate the whore, man. They getting tired of all the bullshit that America's doing, man. You starting to see this now with America's allies. Now, look, we don't want to deal with this deal no more, man. We don't want to be doing this. Look what you're doing. You're pulling out all the INF treaty. You know what I'm saying? Pulling out the Iran nuclear situation. You see what I'm saying? But now, you like a madman. All right, so now we got to just back up off your ass before we wind up drowning with you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying unto the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahawah, Bahashim, YAHAWASHI, Bahashim, Rachah Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Aki, pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong and shalom.